Well, good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome board members and guests to the Wednesday, September 23rd, 2020 meeting of the South Placer Regional Transportation Authority. We're conducting this meeting via teleconference under Executive Order N-29-20, approved by Governor Newsom on March 17th, 2020. We appreciate your participation and patience with this technology. A recording of this meeting will be posted on our website after the meeting. Regarding public comment, there will be multiple opportunities throughout this meeting for public comment. When I open an item up for public comment, please use the raise hand function to indicate that you would like to make a public comment on this item. If you are joining the webinar on your computer, you can do so by clicking the raise hand button on the middle bottom of the Zoom webinar window. If you are joining over the phone, you can do so by pressing *9. SPRTA staff will then call out individuals who have raised their hand, giving them permission to speak one by one. When you are called, please state your full name and city of residence. You will then have a maximum of 3 minutes to provide your public comment, and SPRTA staff will notify you when your 3 minutes are up. If you experience technical difficulties and are unable to provide your public comment, please email your comment to Solvi Sobel, our clerk, at sabol@pctpa.net. Because this meeting is being conducted via teleconference, all votes will be roll call votes. Board members, we ask that you state your name prior to making a motion or seconding a motion for the record. Once an item has been moved and seconded, I will request the clerk call the roll to vote. Thank you. Could we please start with the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. So could we start with the roll call, please?
Broadway?
Here.
Joyner?
Here.
Euler?
Here.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is approval of minutes from the August 26, 2020 meeting, which were provided in your packet. Are there any additions or corrections? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Euler moves approval.
Broadway second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Could we have roll call, please?
Allard?
Yes.
Broadway?
Yes.
Joyner?
Yes.
Euler?
Aye.
Okay, the next item is agenda review. The agenda has been provided to you. Are there any comments about the agenda?
No.
We'll just go ahead and move to the next item then. The next item is public comment. This is a time when anyone from the public can comment on an item that is not on today's agenda. You can do so either by email or phone. That information was provided earlier. So do we have any public comment at this time?
Mr. Chair, I'm seeing no public comment at this time.
Okay, I'll close public comment and we'll move on the consent calendar. On the consent calendar, we have one item, which is conflict of interest code amendment. Does anyone from the board wish to pull this item from the consent calendar?
No.
Anyone from the public? If not, I'll accept the motion. If not, I'll accept the motion to move the consent calendar.
Good. I'll see you tomorrow at 3:30.
Sounds like a plan. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, despite that, let's see. Do we have a motion
Broadway
to approve?
motion. Yeah, Broadway motion to approve.
Okay. Do we have a second? All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar. Can we have a roll call, please?
Allard?
Yes.
Broadway?
Yes.
Joyner?
Yes.
Euler?
Aye.
Okay, sometimes this technology is a little challenging. Sorry about the back and forth. Okay, we'll move on to item G, which is a 10:45 a.m. public hearing that was continued from the last meeting regarding the Placer County Conservation Program Adoption and Joint Final Environmental Impact Report environmental impact statement. Luke, are you going to make the presentation?
I am.
Okay, great.
Members of the board, this is as mentioned, the Placer County Conservation Program, or it's also referred to as the PCCP. It is a regional comprehensive program that is key for streamlining projects included in the SPRTA fee programs. A notice was published in the local newspaper, and we are requesting the board to continue the public hearing from August. The PCCP was recommended for adoption by the Placer County Planning Commission in July 9th of 2020, and the Board of Supervisors certified the environmental document and adopted the PCCP on September 1st, 2020, a major milestone. So attachment A, if we could show that on the screen, the next slide. It's also in the board packet. This shows the PCCP area, which includes Western Unincorporated Placer County and the city of Lincoln. I do want to thank Greg McKenzie and Lauren Clark, who have been both involved in the PCCP over the last 20 years. They've done a great job on not only coordinating with SPRTA, but also making sure that this important program keeps moving forward. And also Chris Beal of Resources Law Group has been a big help to SPRTA, and I'm sure other agencies on this important project. And all three are on this call in case there are any specific questions. Since Placer County is the lead agency and SPRTA is a responsible agency for the environmental document, the SPRTA board is requested to make findings and overriding considerations regarding the final EIR as a responsible agency under CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, as shown in attachment B in your packet, and then separately by motion adopt the PCCP. The SPRTA TAC concurred with the approval, and with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions before opening up to the public hearing.
Questions?
John, I believe you're muted. Sorry, Chair Allard.
Sorry. Okay, thank you, Luke. Board, do you have any questions for Luke regarding the presentation?
Nope.
No question.
No questions? Okay, at this time, I'll go ahead and open it up for public comment. Does anyone from the public wish to comment on this item?
Mr. Chair, there's a member of the public who wishes to make a comment.
Okay, go ahead with that.
Good morning.
Mike,
This is Mike Arabedian for Placer County Tomorrow. Glad to have an opportunity to speak with you, board members, this morning. There are a lot of concerns about this project, its sweeping nature, not to mention the fact that it's going to be governed by a joint powers agreement between the county and Lincoln, with 3 members, 2 from the county and 1 from Lincoln. Now that has been formed, this is actually the time where that body of 3 people should convene hearings to involve the public, the entire public that hasn't yet been aware of or following this. As you know, there are hundreds, a couple thousand pages involved in the documents. There have been various committees set up, financial and otherwise, in the biological working group. But by and large, the public is not aware of this, and we have a new layer of governance with this, the County Conservation Authority. A major problem with this is the in lieu free payment that would allow really burying wetlands, converting vernal pool, prairie. These are natural resources of the greatest importance for which there is compatible agriculture and, in fact, compatible industrial commercial development out there right next to them. And so this we already know from the proposed Carvana project that being proposed for the sale of that from the outfit that owns that industrial park, that they're expecting to fill in that marvelous marshland and area out there. Now this is really an expensive area to build, as you know, because of the marshes and the hard pan out there, the experience all over. It's far better to leave this land as nature and God-given as it is. You can't remake it effectively. If I understand it correctly, as much as 29% of the areas that may be taken in Luffy, they will try to reconstruct new ones, which is doesn't work very well. It certainly doesn't work as well as the ones we have. So this area is really not. It really needs to go back to the drawing board. For the Sunset Area Plan, you know, there was a proposed citizen smart growth plan that, whether you agree with all of it or not, the important thing that was done there was they figured out how to do development and leave the most important critical natural resources and wetlands out there. And that is a far better approach than this old-fashioned one that is really outmoded as we go into the future. So there are other points we will make about this. I think that maybe the final one in closing, it sounds like we've run out of time, or was that a warning or out of time? You know, that there was a rancher on the committee that the biological group that refers to this as genocide for agriculture. This is an indication of the problems that this has for the community there, and for its future. So I suppose I should close by pointing out, as you probably all know, that having the Placer Parkway in it is a mistake. It should not be in that. Anyway, I'm glad to just have a chance to cover a couple of the high points for you, and look forward to any response that staff, Lauren or Greg, and so forth may have to the points we've made. Really would appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Is there anyone else who wishes to make public comment on this item?
Mr. Chair, I'm seeing no requests for public comment at this time.
Okay, seeing no further public comment, I'll close public comment on this item and bring it back to the board. Board, what's your wish?
Mr. Chair, I would move the adoption of Resolution 20-09 and Resolution 20-10.
So Chair Allard,
Wait a second.
if I could, these do actually need to be taken separately.
Okay, then I'll move 20-09, including the findings. How's that?
Okay.
Broadway will second.
Okay, a motion to approve Resolution 20-09. Could you please read the, could you please call the roll?
Yes, now I can. Allard,
Yes.
Broadway,
Yes.
Joyner,
Yes.
Euler.
Aye. And then I would move Resolution 20-10.
Joiner seconds.
Broadway second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 20-10. Roll call?
Allard,
Yes.
Broadway,
Yes.
Joyner,
Yes.
Euler.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to item H, which is Tier 2 Development Fee Program Deferral Update. Luke, this is yours.
Yep, I have this item also. In spite of aggressive and innovative approaches used here in Placer, such as the formation of SPRTA and successful pursuit of state and federal funding, as all of you are aware, there is a funding gap that still exists between transportation needs and funding. In the face of this challenge, SPRTA and its member jurisdictions worked for more than 2 years on a program to fund Placer Parkway. In 2009, a memorandum of agreement was signed by the 4 SPRTA agencies to include impact fees in development agreements for projects in new growth areas, with SPRTA as the administrator. To date, the Tier 2 fees have generated $3.4 million, while the total cost of Placer Parkway is estimated at just under $600 million. In 2013 and 2017, amendments were made to the Tier 2 fee program, which resulted in the deferral of no more than 50% of the fees for eligible developments through January 1st, 2035. And attachment 1 in your packet shows the requested deferrals to date. I would just note that these are the deferrals requested. The actual deferrals used is approximately 1,000 houses, or the equivalent of 1,000 houses through June 30th, 2020. And the jurisdictions do provide annual reporting on this. The amended memorandum of agreement directed the SPRTA board to revisit the fee deferral program by December of 2020 to determine if revisions or termination of the program were appropriate. The reason behind the amended agreement in the first place was to stimulate economic recovery in the region from the Great Recession. Given the current COVID crisis, the TAC recommended, the Technical Advisory Committee recommended continuing the Tier 2 deferral program. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Luke. Board members have any questions for Luke regarding the presentation?
No questions.
Okay, I'll go ahead and open this item up for public comment. Does anyone from the public wish to comment on this item?
Yes, Mr. Chair, there's a member of the public who would like to make a comment on this item.
Okay, thank you.
Hello again, this time SPRTA commissioners this morning. Mike Arabedian for Placer County Tomorrow. 2 questions. Looking at the Tier 2 deferral chart with the 5,000 units, I'd like to know what potential amount that is. What is the potential amount of fee dollars deferred? And second, is this, when a deferral takes place, is it ever caught up, or is that deferred for good for those particular units? And I would say that that we're concerned about deferral programs, maybe a little less concerned about this one because we disagree with the use it's being put to, and assume that I don't know if this only affects units or businesses, but businesses may, want to have a say in what they're paying for these kinds of fees or other fees, but we don't have a position on it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Are there any other public comments at this time?
Mr. Chair, there is no further public comment at this time.
Okay, I'll go ahead and close public comment. Luke, would you be willing to answer the 2 questions asked by Mr. Karabedian?
Yes, Chair Allard. The first question about the potential 5,000 units or dwelling unit equivalents would generate about $35 million. And on the second question, is the deferral occur forever? And the answer to that is no. There are community facility districts that each agency implements, and the fee would be collected usually 30 years from now, the remaining 50%.
Okay, thank you, Luke. Okay, any other comments or questions from the board?
Quick question for me, if I may, John.
Yes.
So Luke, have these projects actually been built? Have permits been pulled? They've been built? Normally the fee would be paid at permit.
Yeah, so clarification here, they have been approved by the agency for development, but not necessarily the building units pulled. What you're seeing here is 5,000 dwelling unit equivalents requested, but actually only 1,000 of those 5,000 have pulled their building permits.
Okay. And the impacts of that delay in collection would be what?
well, 35 million would be the total amount for 5,000 units, so about 50% of that. So around $17 million.
Right. So would that be money that the county could not be refunded until such time as that was collected? Is this delaying repayment for the county?
You're getting into project specifics, but in general, it does mean that the improvements wouldn't occur as fast as they would otherwise would if we were collecting the full fee.
Okay, so later phases of, say, Placer Parkway could potentially be delayed.
Potentially.
Okay. And so the reason for continuing the deferral is?
Talking with the Technical Advisory Committee, which is the Public Works Directors, they felt it prudent, given the current economic conditions, that that we continue the program. It was always planned to sunset in 2035. We're not planning on extending that. This was just a interim review to give the board a chance to review the current program, and if the board wishes, we can make revisions or terminate the program.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the board? If not, do we have a motion to approve? Oh, this is information only. I apologize. So I'm hearing that for the most part, the board is supportive of moving forward with this continued deferral. Is that correct?
So are we saying to the intended sunset date of 2035?
Chair Allard, maybe I can clarify here. It is an informational only item. I think if the board wished to revise the program or terminate the program, we would bring it back to a future board meeting. But if the board has no changes, then we would just count this as our check-in with the board, and there wouldn't be another. It would terminate automatically in 2035.
Okay. Board okay with moving forward as Luke just mentioned?
Yes.
Yes.
Kirk?
Yeah, I said I was good.
Okay, all right. I think we're good then. Thank you, Luke. We'll move on to the next item, item I, which is approved master agreement with WSP to update the SPRTA travel demand module and Tier 1 and Tier 2 impact fee programs. This is yours, Aaron.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll start off with this, the staff item, and then we will turn it over for a brief presentation on the work to be performed over the next 2 years. So PCTPA staff released an RFP on July 1st, 2020. And that RFP was to seek consultant services to assist us with a comprehensive update of the South Placer Regional Transportation Authority's travel demand model and Tier 1 and Tier 2 regional impact fee programs that have been in place for approximately 18 years. This update was needed, one, as just a refresher, but more importantly, to capture new development that has been improved within the last year, such as Amorosa Ranch Specific Plan, the Placer Ranch and Sunset Area Plans, and other land use, smaller land use approvals that have been approved by their local governing bodies. We also wanted to update the Nexus study that ties together the Tier 1 and Tier 2 regional impact fee programs. And we also, in talking with the SPRTA staff at your agencies, we also wanted to have the travel demand model be responsive and compliant with the new Senate Bill 743 requirements to track vehicle miles traveled. We formed an evaluation committee consisting of staff members from PCTPA and then one each from the city of Lincoln, Rockland, Roseville, and Placer County to receive 4 proposals that were received at the closing of the RFP period. We decided after reviewing the proposals to shortlist 2 firms and invite them to an interview. After the interviews, there was one firm that was unanimously chosen through that process, and that firm was WSP. WSP is a Sacramento-based firm, and our contract and our recommended action today is to authorize our executive director to negotiate and sign a contract with WSP for an amount not to exceed $450,000. The contract itself will be authorized by the SPRTA board through the annual budgetary process under the administrative costs. The SPRTA TAC also concurred with the staff's recommendations at the September 8th, 2020 meeting. So with that, I'll see if there's any questions from the board. Otherwise, maybe we'll turn it over to WSP to make a brief presentation.
Okay, board, do you have any questions for Aaron at this time?
No questions.
Okay, seeing none, is WSP in attendance? Are they joining us?
Yes, so they should be in attendance. And Kathleen, if you would unmute if you need to, Sabrina Drago. She is the Assistant Vice President for the Sacramento area Office of WSP. And then we also have Donald Hubbard, who will also be online, and he's the Senior Planning Manager for the firm. Sabrina?
Thank you, Aaron, and good morning. We're excited to be here. Good morning. Oh, okay. Next slide, please, Aaron. So I wanted to give an overview today of what this contract consists of, and is basically broken up into 3 components. First of all, we'll be updating the Placer County traffic model so it can be used for the next component, which is updating the Nexus study for the SPRTA fee program. And thirdly, we'll also be conducting outreach to stakeholders and the public at large about the program and how it fits into the larger picture of transportation issues are being addressed and impacted in Placer County. Next slide. So we've put together a team of experts in modeling impact fees, and along with an outreach firm that has partnered success with PCPTA many times. Most of our team is local, and some of us, including myself, are very proud Placer County residents. So next slide, please. So the first thing we need to do is to update the Placer County model, which will then be used for the Nexus study. But that's not the only reason we're updating the model. Besides the Nexus study, the model will also be useful for EIRs going forward, including the new VMT requirements. I'll go into that in a minute. It's also useful for planning and design studies. We're trying to make a consistent tool that can be readily used by everyone doing traffic studies in Placer County. A couple of months ago, when we were developing our approach, we spoke with the staff at most of the member agencies and asked them what features they would like to see in the new model. What they said is they want a lot of detail in Placer County so they can do their traffic studies, including geographic coverage eastward to SR20. It needs to have a short runtime, which is a few hours, not days, unlike some models, and it also needs to be user-friendly. Next slide, please. So we're going to develop a model for the base year, which will represent current conditions, or more accurately, conditions as they were before COVID, because we believe that to be a temporary disruption. Then we will develop some future scenarios that will allow us to test different funding situations and evaluate the need for transportation improvements. This includes with and without SPRTA Tier 1 and Tier 2 programs, which we will need for the Nexus study. Next slide, please. So among the things that the model will need to address are the new requirements under SB 743. SB 743 completely changes the way traffic impacts are measured under CEQA. For the last 50 years, traffic impacts have been measured using, quote, level of service. But environmentalists and academics convinced the state government that trying to fix the level of service resulted in an ever-expanding road network, which caused environmental problems. So in 2013, the state enacted a law to say that you had to measure impacts using vehicle miles traveled, or VMT. This law went into effect just this July 1st, and we need a new model that calculates the effect the project might have on a regional VMT. Since people in Placer County drive to a lot of other places outside the county, we need to expand the geographic scope of the model. What you see in the top figure is some information on where people living in Lincoln actually work. More than a third work in Sacramento County, and another 28% drive more than 50 miles one way to their jobs. So we can't just look at nearby intersections anymore, and the analysis needs to take all of these trips into account. So we have a technique for doing that, excuse me, using cell phone data. So what you see at the bottom figure are the origins of trips to South Lake Tahoe. You can see that this is capturing from Nevada all the way to the Bay Area. But this model will still do the forecasting that you need for level of service analysis. The VMT component is just an additional feature. Next slide, please. So the next component is the SPRTA Nexus update. As you know, state law requires impact fees to be updated about every 5 years to make sure that the land use assumptions, project costs, and other factors remain accurate. These studies are a bit different than typical traffic studies. In some ways, it's more like doing your income taxes. There are a lot of calculations set in a complicated legal framework. You have to follow a logical process, and this leads you to numerical results. And just like income taxes, it is really important you understand and follow the rules. So of course, collecting a fee can be contentious, and so with that, we'll need to do a lot of outreach to show that the process is done fairly and that everyone's point of view is being considered. Next slide, please. State law has a number of specific legal requirements that are listed here, but I'm not going to go into all of them. Suffice to say, we've done this many times and we know how to satisfy the requirements. The short version is we need to identify existing transportation deficiencies plus new deficiencies that will occur as the county keeps growing and use that information to determine the fair share of new developments. All of this needs to be thoroughly documented to demonstrate that the legal requirements have been met. Next slide, please. The best way to get buy-in, PCPTA staff believe, would have a beneficial to have a solid program of outreach to gain support. So the key to successful outreach lies not in just what you say, but how you say it. And what we want to do is to get a clear understanding of the different groups involved and show how the program can be in their best interest. Part of this is being genuinely open to their suggestions and willing to make adjustments as we go along based on people's input. In terms of how we will say this is on the next slide. We have brought on AIM Consulting to our team who will help us with stakeholder meetings, workshops, and newsletters. Part of their job would be work with PCPTA staff to show how the SPRTA program fits into the larger picture of funding for the Placer County transportation system. Next slide, please. So in terms of the schedule, if we were to start next month, we'll have the model ready for the Nexus study by next July. And we'll have the documentation and user's guide for others by the end of the summer. We can start doing some things in the Nexus study even before the model is finished, like updating the project costs, and the full Nexus study should be ready by February of 2021. There's some outreach we can do early on, but the main outreach will begin at the same time as the Nexus study. It will continue even after the study is complete until the time of the new fee schedule is officially adopted by you, the SPRTA board. And with that, I'd like to introduce Don Hubbard, our project manager, and answer any questions you might have for us.
Board, do you have any questions for Sabrina or for Don regarding the presentation?
No questions.
Just one, I think. What's the benefit of a short run model as opposed to one taking over days?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yep.
Some feedback here.
We lost you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
we can see you too.
So for example, suppose you're doing a design for a road and you're not quite sure how you want to do it. You want to tweak it until you optimize the design, get the ramps and the intersections just right. A short run time would allow you to run, say, 15 tests over the course of a week rather than 1 or 2. And because you can do more tests, it allows you to do more optimization. You'll end up with a better project. And the model itself would not be a constraint in either the development of the EIR or be a constraint for design work.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Sabrina or Don? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and open this item up for public comment. Does anyone from the public wish to comment on this item at this time?
Mr. Chair, I'm seeing no request for public comment at this time.
Okay, I'll close public comment and bring it back to the board. Board, how would you like to proceed?
Broadway will move approval.
Joiner seconds.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Roll call, please.
Allard,
Yes.
Broadway,
Yes.
Joyner,
Yes.
Euler.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Sabrina and Don. Appreciate your joining us today.
Thank
All right,
you.
we'll move on to the next item, which is Executive Director's Report. Do we have a Executive Director's Report at this time?
Just a brief mention and maybe follow up on the last item. Just one of the things that's going to be very critically important is that we have participation by all of our member agencies and a fairly deep participation. And what I mean by that is that we, normally we will have the public works directors and their public works staff participate in this, but because it has great connection and implications to land use and to really the operations of the entire city or county, we are asking our tax to not only bring their normal staff to this, but to bring their planners and frankly, we will periodically need participation from either the county CEO's office or the city manager's office as well. And so our approach enables participation at all those levels, and really this is a very, very important project because it has great implications on growth and development and land use throughout the county. So to the extent that you as board members could encourage that participation, we would greatly appreciate that. So I just wanted to mention that. The second thing, and also related to that, is it's difficult going into this project to kind of see where this heads. There's lots of options that can be taken. We hope that we've accommodated that in the contract that you just approved. But I just wanted to, I guess, give a slight caveat that if direction changes, we need public participation or stakeholder participation, or we have to redo things because of changes in the way we want to approach this, because the fee is too high or the fee it doesn't cover something, there is a likelihood that we may come back to you for a contract amendment. And I just wanted to be very open and candid about that. We will try to stay to the budget, but in some ways we kind of don't know where these go until we kind of get into it. So I didn't want the board to I wanted you guys to know that kind of in the beginning. So with that, I don't have any other items for the executive director's report. Well, actually, I do have one item. The last item is in relation to our settlement agreement with the Sierra Club. One of the items of that settlement agreement is the completion of a rail study between Roseville and Lincoln, and we will be commencing that study here shortly and hiring a firm to complete that study. So that'll be something coming to you at future meetings, the results of that, and we'll certainly have a public participation component in that as well. We are going to be utilizing some ridership data that we just completed. Actually, WSP under a different contract completed that, so we are able to take advantage of a similar project in terms of what ridership could be generated from Lincoln because of this prior express study. So anyway, that is something we're going to be embarking upon, and just wanted to give you a heads up on that. So.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Board, any questions for Mike?
No questions.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next item, which is board direction to staff. Any direction from the board?
Nope.
Nope.
All right. You received the informational items in your packet. And the next regularly scheduled SPRTA board meeting is October 28th, 2020. So is there anything further to come before the board today? We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yep.
Any opposed? All right, everyone, thank you very much. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you.